Welcome to DFW Running Talk. I'm Chris Detzel, so let's get started. All right, welcome to another DFW Running Talk. I'm Chris Detzel, and today's guest is Jill Wolf. Jill, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited to finally talk to you. We had some
I know.
times we had to change and all this other stuff,
hmm
but I know you're a busy person, but here you are, so it's exciting.
I'm glad to be here.
And we'll talk about this in a minute, but I was looking back at some of your accomplishments and a lot of accomplishments, but one big one was this January you PR'd at Houston Marathon, right? We'll talk about that in a minute to say what that is, and it's super fast. So that's exciting. And lots of other really good stuff. But before we go into that, let's talk a little bit about you and when you started running and stuff.
So I've been running since I was in seventh grade. My father, I was a big soccer player growing up, played baseball with the boys, played soccer, pretty much travel league a lot. And my dad was like, let's put you in cross country because travel soccer wasn't with the
Makes sense.
school. So it was like, okay, you can do school cross country as well as travel soccer. And ended up seventh grade, just probably I was beating all the eighth graders and was like, oh, okay, so
Pretty
maybe
good
I'm
at
just
that
better
too.
at the running part than just actually playing soccer. Ended up running from seventh grade all through high school, was varsity all 4 years for cross country and track.
All right, so I know you want to keep going
Yeah,
here, but I'm going to stop you a little bit. So you're running in seventh grade and then high school. Let's get into that a little bit, but varsity, it sounds like you did really well. What was the miles that you ran was it a 2 mile or 3 miles? What was that?
in middle school was the 2 mile.
Yep.
And then when high school, it was the 5K for cross country. And then for track, I was a 2 miler and miler. I ended up always getting thrown into the 4x8, which was the first event of the event or like the track meet. And I absolutely hated it. Anything below a mile is please stop picking me for this race.
I remember in high school, and that was a long time ago for me, but I did the mile and 2 mile usually. And two stories. One story was they put me in the 800 and I just wanted to do it for fun. And I won it on that track meet. I won the 800 barely, so I couldn't believe it. And it didn't really run that much. But then I ran my fastest mile on my senior year. And look, for me, it was fast. It was a 5:12 and I got dead last.
That's still really fast though.
I know it was for me, but it wasn't that fast for varsity track. So anyways, tell me a little bit about your times and things like that back then. I'm
Yeah.
curious, like a 5K or
So my freshman year is when I had my best year
no way.
for in high school. So yeah, I was 15, barely 90 pounds, like this short little thing. The girls are all towering over me. And my 5K PR from my first year was 19:23.
Okay. Yep.
And I proceeded to never get even close to that for the rest of my collegiate or
Huh.
for my high school career.
That's crazy.
I just, for some reason, was not getting anywhere close. And that ended up being the high school record until about, I think it was like 12 years ago, someone broke it.
No
So I
way.
was really happy to hold on to it for as long as I did. It was something that someone had to have been 19 minutes. It was the girls. I don't know if
Nowadays,
you
it
know
just feels
professional
like
runner Emily Infield was when I was born and raised in Ohio. She's a
okay,
professional runner. We used to race with Nike. She was like miles ahead of
super
the rest of
fast.
ridiculously fast. So raced against her is a loose term, but she was
Raced when she was racing.
in close proximity.
Yeah.
So I went to states my freshman year. Up actually back then it was top 16. Got a place to go to states just individually. And then what ended up I was 15th, just barely squeaked in on a snowing, thunder, mud, probably up to the middle of our shins race. And it
Trail
was just a
run.
gauntlet. Essentially, in cross country was that up in Northeast Ohio. It was trails and all that. So went to states, had a terrible race. That's to be what it is. And then I never got closer to that. I never got back to that 19 minutes in high school. I had
That's
IT
so
band
interesting.
issues the rest of the time.
You did. Okay.
The 2 mile, I got the high school record for my high school at 11:44 my
That's
freshman year
fast.
as well.
Okay.
Again, freshman year was my year. But
Wow.
after that, it just IT band issues the whole time and never could make it close back again.
Do you think that's because like you just didn't know what to do with the IT bands, or was it just you're young and dumb and you just like, yeah, whatever?
I think back then I still loved running, but
Yeah.
but after my first year and was like I had a really good year, I stopped really caring about the other stuff. Like I was like,
It
Our
happens.
school, we used to go run to McDonald's to get ice cream. Middle of our easy day, 30 minutes, because back then no one had smartwatches. So everything was Timex and be back in 35 minutes. So our watches are just running. No one knows how far we ran because we
That's right.
didn't really run. We ran to the playground and we goofed off. And if my coach ever sees this, I'm so sorry, Laura. I know you know the answer that this happened. But
I'm sure
yeah,
she knows.
oh, she does. Because when I've gone back there, she says, oh yeah, they're going to the same place. I'm like, yep, every year. It just,
Yeah. She's still the coach?
she is still the coach. She was the assistant
Dang.
when I was there. Now she's still the coach, and I keep in contact with her when I go home.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I like
it's
that.
pretty cool. So, yeah, after freshman year, I just IT band issues. I was still case was in the 20-minute range. I was still like 12 low 12s for the 2 mile, but never got back to that peak of what I was my freshman year.
And doing just say research, but just trolling your Instagram or I don't remember, but I saw you've already hit 18 something in one of the 5Ks, like not
Yeah.
all that long ago.
Yeah, it's crazy. Back then I was 15 and now I'm 32.
Yeah, you're still young.
Time essentially 17 years later, and I'm faster now than ever. So it's cool to see that you're like, age really doesn't really matter, and frankly, hard work will continue to. You can get better if you really want to.
Yeah, I think the difference is that you're a lot smarter. You're a lot more focused. You've probably been around a community of people that, are also the same way, that don't, back when you're 15 or 16 or whatever, none of us thought that way.
Yeah.
Unless you just have a hardcore kind of, especially cross country. Cross country is like it's low thing on the totem pole. Nobody cares about it.
No.
Throw that coach there. So,
Pretty much.
all right. So you did some stuff in high school, and so I didn't mean to go so deep into
you're
that,
right.
but I'm very interested. Then what happened?
So I was recruited by multiple colleges across the state, some in Indiana, Illinois, and a couple others. I ended up going, funny story, I ended up going to Miami of Ohio, which is small, D1 public school by Cincinnati. My junior going into senior year, I went down for
Wait,
college.
did you get a scholarship or for running? Okay, it's
No.
just you were still recruited.
I went down there because that was like my top pick, and I actually ended up meeting with the coach there at the time.
Okay.
Like 3 weeks prior, I was out hanging out with friends at a pool that, by the way, I wasn't supposed to be at because my parents didn't know I was there. Ended up stepping on one of those pool. No, they know because
You had to call them.
So stepped on one of those circular pool drains when you're running around a pool, which they tell you not to do. Yeah, stepped on it, pinky toe caught the edge, and almost ripped my toe off. So ended up having to go to the hospital, 4 stitches between my toes, which was terrible. And then I just go on this college visit, meeting this collegiate coach as I'm in a boot with stitches between my toes.
I'm sure the coach was like, what the hell?
This is a good look. I'm never going to make this team. So it was, at the end of the day, I ended up not competing in college. I was so done with I was so done with the injuries. It was just, as I know now, and I still can't stand it. I don't like going out all sprinting for 3 miles. It's
Ks are the
terrible.
worst.
Ks, 10Ks, anything like that. I like longer distances.
It's pretty fast at 5Ks now.
When I'm being forced to do a time trial and just throw myself in there, but I don't do them very much anymore. Probably 1 or 2 a year, and maybe like a nice turkey trot.
Yeah, 8-miler or something here in Dallas.
Yeah, exactly. So I gave it up. I gave up running completely for all my college years. I did try to pick it up every once in a while just because I was like, I feel like I miss it. I want to try again. The IT band just immediately flared. And I'm like,
really?
What? So I just was like, you know what? I'm just going to not run. And I focused and stayed in school for the time I was there.
So you didn't do any exercises though, or at all, or?
Not really. I was very bad at college.
Okay.
It was pretty much, I went to the gym once a month, maybe. I was pretty bad, which is crazy. Yeah. Because I can't even imagine going one day now without doing something because I'm
sure.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to be talking about a lot of hard work here so far.
I know. Just how lazy
all I heard is some slacker stuff. I'm just joking.
Special.
We'll see. You get out of college, do much or hardly any running and no exercise. What happened then?
So I ended up
You went to work as soon?
I know. I got a full-time job in Columbus.
Uh-huh. You're still in Ohio, okay.
I'm still in Ohio at this time. And I was when you work 9 to 5 and then you come home, you're like, okay, I'm bored. I don't really want to spend time watching Netflix. And
it gets old.
You get too much into that routine, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, I need to do something. And the one thing that always was like, hey, running's still there. You still enjoyed it.
Might as well. You were good at it once.
Getting back at some point in the past. And so I decided
if I can at least jog again.
Right, exactly. So I decided to sign up for my first half marathon. So yeah,
Wow.
no dipping the toe in. I was like, you know what, we're going
Jeez.
full send. I
No
need
5K.
some type no, I need some type of goal. I need something
Okay.
to strive towards because I just didn't enjoy the 5K. I was like, maybe I'll enjoy the half. Maybe I can, frankly, at that point, 13.1 seemed completely unrealistic. And so I signed up for the Columbus half marathon, and this was 2015, I believe,
Okay.
October
Yep.
2015. Yes. And so from there, I jumped right back in. And back then I did like the Run Coach, which is like that like online program where it like tells you based on what you ran the week before and your heart rate and it's all on your phone, which it was fine. It did what it needed to do and ran the race and ran a 156. Oh gosh, no, dog, we're not doing this. I can hear her squeaking the
It's
toy.
all right.
So yeah, I ran a 156 my first half. So I was like,
That's not bad.
okay,
That's pretty
like
good.
this is maybe we got something here. So
How'd you
and I
feel?
really
Like, was it, oh my gosh, it sucked, or was it like,
it was
pretty good?
definitely hard,
Yeah.
but it wasn't like I actually enjoyed it because again, doing your first half, you're like, I can breathe. Not going full send, can't breathe. Like your breathing is fine. It's your legs that start giving out. So it was something that I'm like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. I love this stuff.
So, I mean,
So
what'd you think about like your first, and hardly any of us know what to do on that, but when you think of how'd you fuel, did you fuel at all, or was that just, hey, there's some water on the side,
not
so I'll drink it?
not at that time. So
Okay.
I wasn't running with a group. I had almost no.
You just did the online plan.
Yep, did the online plan. I didn't use gels. I was essentially following this program that was like saying, this is what you run. And I was able to do it just fine. If I had gels, could I have gone faster? Probably, but it was so new to me and I didn't have a community to help me and understand. It was
A lot
more
of us do
just,
that.
let's see if we can do it.
That's a typical story, right? That's exactly what
Right.
I did. I'd go out. I remember I was probably 25 or 30 pounds overweight. I was 39, I think,
Hmm.
37, and just went through a divorce and all these things. And then my brother, I've got a twin brother, and he's like, dude, you need to do something
Hmm.
because you need to lose weight, and there's a lot of stress that goes with this thing. And so I did. And I started off running a mile, right? And I did cross country in the high school and all this stuff, but that was a long time ago back then. And so I'd run a mile, but I'd allow myself to walk that mile for 5 days straight. I'd go run a mile. And then on Friday, I was hoping just to jog the entire mile. And then eventually
Hmm.
I get up to a 5 and 10K, and I would run it as hard as I could every time. Can I beat yesterday? Hashtag beat yesterday. You know how
Hmm.
the app does with Garmin now? Anyways, go ahead. But I think we've all kind of been there.
I talked to so many people that are like, oh yeah, I'm better than I was yesterday. I'm like, that's great, but
That
it
doesn't matter.
doesn't do anything for the long run. Yeah,
No.
exactly.
All right. So you run your first half. You're
Hmm.
excited. That's
Hmm.
good. 56 or whatever. So you wanted to keep going, obviously.
Yes. When I did my first half, I was always like, I do want to get up to the marathon because it's something that's just like,
Really?
I knew I wanted to try something. And I saw Boston on TV and it was one of those, oh my gosh, that's it,
That's what
right?
I got to
That's
get.
the amateur elites. That's where everyone, for a serious runner, that's what you want to do. So I ended up moving to Dallas. Technically, I was living in Euless at the time. I used to work for the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
You're
that's
a
what brought me to
cheerleader or
Texas.
what?
No, the most least flexible person you'll ever meet.
You are a
Can't
runner, so that makes
can't touch my
sense.
toes to save my life. But no, it was something that I moved to Dallas, lived in Euless, pretty much isolated as close to the stadium as I probably could get, and was like, you know what? I want to train for my first full. And this was now 2017 was my first marathon. And I started with the Luke Slocker training program, which at the time was the official training partner of the Dallas
Yeah.
Marathon.
All
So
right,
I
so
did
back
that.
up. Did
Yeah.
you do any half marathons since 2015, or did you
Did
just?
one more
Okay.
but it was like 2 hours and a minute, I think, at Glass City in Toledo. So
Okay.
that I did two of those and then started training pretty seriously for Dallas.
Okay.
And so I ended up feeling like I'm part of a community and they had
But you're at
the
Luke's
different,
running with people.
yes.
Got it.
So they had gosh, now I'm going to remember blue, green, yellow, like the pace groups they had different pace groups. And
I
I ended
remember
up,
something like that.
yeah. So ended up doing that program. And there was one of our friends it was fun. I was waking up at 5 a.m, getting in my car from Euless, driving to White Rock Lake every single morning,
Man.
and just getting fully immersed. I know, and not much different than what I do now, but just fully immersing myself and saying, I'm going to give everything to this because I want to do it. And I've never done it. A lot of my coworkers probably thought I was crazy because I was 26 at the time. And they're like, hey, let's go out and party. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I
What
gotta
kind of
be
long
up at
run?
5. Sorry. Yeah. So it was something that like was really a challenge and I really wanted to do it. And I think I missed maybe one Saturday, and I think it was because I was out of town, but I threw everything at it. I was like,
You
I'm
definitely
not,
don't want to
if
miss that many Saturdays for long runs
no,
because
no, no, no.
those miles add up.
Yep. And especially as it got to like the 18s, the
Yeah.
20s, and you're like,
If
am I
you've never
really
done
about to
it.
run this?
Yeah.
And not that the marathon's not 26.2 miles, like you got to get pretty close to it in the training. So it was one of those, oh my gosh, I'm doing this. And it was so hard. I'm like, how am I supposed to do this? And back, no one's using race shoes. Everyone's using those like chunky, like I had ASIC Nimbus and I still use
I
those
did
as
too.
my
I used
easy
to use
day.
those. Yeah.
But those were my long run shoes too. And those things were heavy.
Yeah.
So by mile 18, 19, 20, you're like, oh my gosh,
But they're
my
very
feet,
cushiony for your
they're
foot.
very cushiony.
That's the
Like,
beauty about the Nimbus.
yes,
But
yes.
Asics Forever just had these heavy shoes, and I'm like, I'm tired of heavy shoes,
Yeah.
you know?
Yep.
But I did love them for the comfort. Anyways.
Yes. So it was so hard. And I like just the training. And then there was one of the girls in the group was like, this is the hard part. Once you get to race day, that's the easy part. Like just get to, because you've done all the work.
Yeah.
You've done
Yeah.
everything you possibly
I hear
can.
you.
And there's no, you're going to finish
Definitely.
something unless hopefully nothing bad happens, like a car driving on the course, which does happen sometimes, crazy enough, with not closed courses, but you're going to finish. You don't spend 16, 20 weeks training for something and
You
saying,
did the
I'm just going to
work.
give up.
You said it earlier, and I think you said it. I don't know if it's pre-show or not, but doing the work is the key at the end of the day. And you did it.
Absolutely. Yep. So ended up running my first marathon in 3:44 at Dallas.
Yeah, that's
So
really great.
I was really,
That's when you think of like your 2 hours and 156. Who knew you could do under 4 hours?
yeah, it was,
That's great.
it was awesome. And it was the like validation I needed that I'm not that far off from the BQ, which at the time was a 3:30. And I knew going into training that I couldn't bite off the whole elephant in one bite. I needed to get one under my belt and then focus on the next one.
Most people can't. I think the reality is there are some very talented people, period, including yourself. You're extremely talented, but you've had to put every ounce of work to be that talented.
Yes.
Right? So if you want to hit your true peak talent, it takes maybe a few years, 2 years, whatever, right? Or longer to get your body used to that marathon kind of stuff. I'm not saying you won't make really great strides and getting better in the time. I've seen plenty of people that that they have the talent. They're going to hit, if they keep going, they're going to hit some great times, whether it's marathon or half marathon. So a lot of times these people, oh, it's my first marathon, I'm going to BQ. I was like, you might, but that's rare.
You could.
It is rare for your first time to go out and run a marathon to BQ.
You don't know what you're going to see. You don't know the demons
like, you
you're
don't know
going to have to
anything.
fight at 23. 23
you don't know
on,
anything.
you have no idea what you're in
Exactly.
for.
And generally they don't. I've seen people that do. I'm not saying that they don't, but I would say 90+%, you're probably not going to hit that. But let's keep going because I think it's a good point though. You made huge strides if you think about where your half marathon was compared to where your marathon.
Yep.
I mean, geez, that's great.
I know. I was ecstatic and I knew, and it was all, I'm thankful for Luke's because based on the program, like you knew, okay, if you're pacing this at your long run, this is your race pace. And they gave you a very detailed, again, at the time, it was very like, not beginner, but it was like, I was running maybe 40 miles a week at max. And it was like,
that's not that much when you think about what a lot of people do now.
Not what I do now. Like, it's just, oh my gosh, that would be nice. Like a 40-mile week. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I would love that.
That's all I do now.
That's what I'm doing right now for my taper week. So it's just, it's crazy. It's just, it was a great program though. I wish they had kept up with it. I know that they no longer do that program, but and I definitely still see Carrie and Matt and all of them out there all the time. So it's really good.
Do you know Duncan?
Yes, of course.
Everybody knows Duncan. I'm trying to get him on, and he said he'll do it. I talked to him the other day, so I got to get his email.
There you go.
So you run your marathon, you're excited, and so it's got to keep going. So what's next?
Yeah. So at that point, it was like 2 days after Dallas. I'm like struggle busing to walk the downstairs. Like this is terrible. And my family all flew out from Cleveland to come watch me race.
Wow, that's
and
awesome.
ironically, they at the time, remember the Lime bikes that were everywhere scattered in Dallas before the scooters?
Yeah.
So they had biked from like point to point all over the course. They're complaining of how they hurt so bad. And I'm like you didn't run I know you biked around the course.
Probably a little sore, I guess, but you bike.
And funny enough, one of our family friends who was with them too, who do live here in the Metroplex, they got me a poop emoji, a balloon, so I could always spot them in a crowd. Genius.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Genius way to find people. If you ever
Yeah.
want ideas on how to find your runner to find you, balloons. So 2 days later, I'm literally in so much pain, contemplating my life choices of everything. I get the email that I got into the Chicago Marathon for 2018. So I was like,
Got to do
oh
it.
gosh, here we go again. 2 days post marathon, and I'm
It's a
like,
good
and I
marathon to
have to run
do,
it back. It's a
potentially.
great marathon, and I absolutely loved Chicago. So at that point, I'm at a 3:44 time, and I'm like, all right, I think I got 10 months. Let's see where I'm at, and let's try to bring this
Hit
time
that
down.
3:30.
So at
or
that
under.
point, Luke's was not doing their program. I ended up getting a referral to Fonz, which obviously I've been with
To
him ever
Fonz.
since. To Fonz, and this was back when he was like was coaching probably 10 runners, maybe mostly BQ women who were Ashley and Annabelle and all the original Cynthia, and they were all
I don't know any of those people.
they
That's good.
I
You have
haven't
to.
seen them in so long, so I
Okay.
miss them. They need to come back and start running with us more. But I got connected with him, and we started the program. Like, we just started training, and it was back then when he literally sent you a weekly plan in the body of an email that just said Monday run.
Yeah.
And then it was just so, okay, this is how I'm going to get my BQ. I just randomly, like, just crazy plans. So
Ran
it
the
was,
miles.
yep. And it was, of course, I went from running Dallas, which I trained mostly from August through the fall and the winter, where now I'm training through the peak of summer in Dallas.
But it's actually good though.
It's so great for you.
It sucks, but yeah.
Oh, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible, but it is really good for you because they say heat is the poor man's altitude. So
Exactly.
That's what they say. I fully believe that. So at that point, I was training peak of summer on the Katy Trail, running up and down.
Just by yourself?
Pretty much. I didn't have a group. I was still doing it solo, but at least I had some experience.
And a plan.
And I had a plan. I had a coach that knew what he was doing. He could get me there. And so roll into Chicago that year, and he gives me this crazy race plan. And I'm just like, there is no way.
Oh, he gives you a race plan. That's
yeah,
great.
he gave me a race plan. So you're gonna hold the 8 minute, because at that point it was 3:30, so it was an 8 minute mile. You're gonna hold the 8 minute mile, and then in mile 18, you're gonna start to speed up. And I'm like, what? What do you mean I'm gonna speed up? He's, yeah, you're gonna speed up. I'm like, okay. And then by 20, you're at like full send. I'm like,
yep.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm going into this race thinking I'm going to die. I'm not going to finish. This is going to be terrible.
You're going to finish. I have no doubt. But yeah, so I hear what you're saying.
It was a rainy day. It was probably like in the high fees. Ended up latching on to another girl that her and I ended up running together just in front of the 3:30 pacer, because it was Chicago's a giant marathon. So trying to get even near a pacer is difficult.
Yeah. Find one.
So I executed the plan, negative split by 5 minutes, ended up getting a 3:24 on my first marathon or second marathon and getting a BQ. So I was like,
this shit works.
He wasn't wrong. And
obviously
he's never wrong. He's always spot on with where
I can't believe you said that live. He's going to hear this.
Say it to his face. It's fine. He knows it. Because I got a story from my first sub 3, and again, spot on every single time.
You just gave it away, right? Your first sub 3.
Sorry.
But that's all right. That's all right.
So
we're getting there.
I was super happy. 3:24, had a qualifier for Boston 2020, which again, also another spoiler alert of what's about to happen down the road.
I heard that yesterday. That's from somebody else. Anyways, yeah, that's a big spoiler for a lot of people.
That was.
Yeah. Well, okay. So you execute that plan, which is pretty awesome. You have to be really focused and dedicated. One, to do the work during the summer by yourself. I know you had a planning coach, but it's got to be tough. It's only your second marathon. And then he says, okay, I need you to run 8s and then run faster. And so probably freaked you out a little, but now you've got to have all the confidence in the world.
Yeah, it's now become, it was the confidence builder that's, okay, I can do this. And frankly, that race has solidified how I like to race, period.
Yeah.
I do like to race that hold back and surge at the end. I don't like the slow fade. I know we don't try to slow fade. It never is a plan to slow fade, but
way better to go faster at the end. It's better to go faster at the end because you feel better, but you've got to allow yourself to be able to do that, which I think that's awesome that you can do that.
Yeah, it's
always
it's hard. It's that, and frankly, it's more just that mental barrier of, I don't think I can speed up, but you actually can. Your body, you're then going to start use different muscle groups to then, because you've been pounding at the same part of your leg for so long. Now you're going to get on the front of your feet a little bit and go a little harder, and you're going to, you feel better, which is it's a weird mental concept, but you do.
So let's talk a little bit about nutrition on that second one. And then I want you to, as you think about the rest of this journey, and I want you to add in what you've learned about the nutrition piece. I think it's so important, especially with marathon runners.
Yes.
So your second marathon, you ran great. It's crazy. What did your nutrition look like then that you remember? Is it better than the first one, or?
I was still using the same gels, which back then I was using those Honey Stinger Golds, which taste like straight sugar and honey. And you can pay me to eat that now because it's just too sweet. I like bland. I need something just get down the hatch.
And how many did you do? Like, how many did you take?
Normally I take every 6 miles, and that really has not changed ever.
Okay.
Now, if it's a super hot day, I will alter that a little bit. Like I'll carry a water bottle that I bring with me for a little bit and then chug it. But I've had some bad races where I've gone into full leg locking because of sodium problems. And has altered how I've done some nutrition going forward after my third marathon. So it's been a whirlwind.
So you did the honey stingers for
just 2 races.
Two races.
And then I changed to Martin is what I then transitioned to.
That's what I used.
Which is still really great. The problem with Martin, and I still love them, I still use them depending on the race, they don't have a lot of sodium. And if you're a heavy sweater, it's pure sugar. I like to say it's a heap that you put in a blender, and that's the consistency you're going to get. I don't know how else to describe it.
Take salt pills at all, or those? I don't either.
I've tried them, and they just don't really work. I've learned thinking I'm smarter than I am. I'm not going to take Gatorade on the course because I don't train with Gatorade. I've learned that lesson the hard way. So now I take Gatorade early and often to try to get that sodium and the electrolytes in early, so that because it comes back to bite you if you don't.
Okay. So the second marathon, you still did really well, but you just took the honey stinger things and that was it. You didn't do Gatorade or anything. But then the third.
Nope, just water. Got honey stinger and water.
Water, no Gatorade. Yeah.
Nope.
Okay. I'm sure there's some lessons learned here.
Yep.
Can't wait to get to that. So let's keep going.
So
anything like besides just the marathon, was there any halves that you did in between after the second that you got excited about, or was it still the marathon that you're cared about the most?
I've always used halves, and I still to this day, like I ran Dallas half last year. I use halves as a training tool. I use it as more of I'm going to go out there and put myself in a race scenario and then do half at MP and then half at faster. Okay. And so that's just, I like the half. It always seems to fall in my marathon blocks. So I don't really want to.
You do a couple a year, right? At least.
Yeah. So it's one of those I don't want to, and we do half marathons pretty much every day we run our long runs anyway. So
exactly.
It's like.
What's a half?
Exactly. So it's one of those, it's a good training tool in the middle of a block, but I haven't raced an all out half in probably 7 years. I just don't do it because I'm always focused on the next marathon, trying to bring that time down. And maybe I'll go back to a half when I'm done trying to get faster in the marathon, but I run them enough that I don't really need it. Yeah, no, I don't care.
Right now it's a marathon still. So
and I love it. I do.
Sounds like it. You said the last 7 years. All right. We don't have to necessarily go through all the marathons, but I do want to make sure that we hit the highlights so right now you're hitting PRs like crazy and really pretty fast time. So you get into Boston. Do you do one before Boston or do you go right to Boston after that? Okay.
After Chicago, I actually had, at the time, this was the first time New York City Marathon. It ends up being my 2019 marathon, third marathon, second world major, which is really cool. But at the time, they did that Strava virtual challenge where you did the virtual marathon a year beforehand to get you a guarantee entry into New York. So I
remember that.
Yeah. So I did a marathon around White Rock Lake in November. Super fun. A month after I did Chicago, and just got my check it off the box and
probably just jogged it, right? You didn't probably go all out or anything.
No. I was just check it off and get it done. So I go into New York in 2019. I'm registered for Boston 2020. New York was going to solidify my spot for the next Boston is what I was planning to do. End up having, to this day, still the worst marathon I've ever had. Like I said, sodium. I've learned the hard way with Martin that on a hot day and you're not being smart with Gatorade and electrolytes, your legs will start cramping. And at that point, I actually called my husband, my boyfriend at the time, now husband, being like, I think I pulled something.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It worked out.
It worked out. So that's good. I called him and I said, I think I pulled something. I don't know if I'm going to make it. And I'm like in Queens at this point. So I am like
You had a phone on you.
I
Do you
did.
always carry a phone?
That's no, normally
Okay.
now I don't. Back then
Okay.
I did because I listen to music because
Back then you
I
used a
was,
phone. We all
yeah,
did. Now you don't
yeah.
have to.
No, I don't use it pretty much ever. So at that point, I called him. I don't think I'm literally leaning against the bridge in New York. Legs won't move. And I ended up, I think it was running the last 8 miles, just get to the next water stop, chug a water, chug a Gatorade, get a banana, get whatever I could find to try to just keep myself moving forward. And it was a gauntlet. But
Finished.
I'm
A
not
lot
going
of
to go
grit.
unless I'm pulled off the course in an ambulance. I'm not quitting. It's
Yeah.
just that's not how my mind works.
I love it.
Yeah.
Don't know if I would recommend that. There's nothing wrong with grit, and look, you're trying to take in drinks and things like,
Mm.
and not telling people to go hurt themselves, but that's what it takes to run a marathon sometimes. It
And I knew
does.
what it was. Once I figured it out, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
we got a problem here. And
Did you
I
start
did
feeling
everything I
better
could.
once you started drinking the
No,
Gatorades? No. Okay. It
no,
was the
no.
same. All
So
right.
unfortunately, it was
Just too late.
finished. I think it was like a 3:36. So it was still time wise was better than 3:44. I know, but I was going for a 3:15.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
trying to
I mean,
solidify.
you're going really fast for a long
I
time and
know
then just gonna just
it was
chug. I mean,
hard
it's
and
probably a tough one. Yeah.
it was tough. So
I
I went into
remember
that and I was like, ugh.
I remember telling, so I get your mindset. I'm not like, oh my gosh, you did a 336 still. But
Oh,
I was
I know.
talking to Brent Whittle and he goes, he won not so long ago, like the last DRC half or whatever. And I said, you won. He goes, it's not what I wanted. And I was really
Mhm.
sick, but he still won it. And I go, well, you still won. He goes, yeah, I see what you're saying. He goes, but I didn't hit what I was trying to hit from a time standpoint. I go,
It's
I get that.
hard, and I have to watch myself too sometimes because like we can all have bad workouts,
Yeah.
but our bad workouts are some people's dream, wouldn't even anticipate, couldn't even imagine running that fast. You do have to be cautious on how you word things because
I think the
everyone's
reality
totally
is,
different.
I don't disagree necessarily, but the thing is that you have goals that you want to hit. And a 336 was not a goal that you wanted to hit. You've already hit that. And you're in pain and you still suffered to try to hit that 336 even.
Yeah.
And so I get that, but we all want to hit kind of our goals.
And luckily, my parents were there at that one too, and they were nervous because they knew that I had a good Chicago, and they're like, "Oh, is she going to be upset?" And I was like, "I'm like, why can I be? Well, I'm not upset because I did everything I could. I
Yeah,
left everything
that's good.
out there. You can't be mad about it. Just wasn't your day. The weather, you can't affect the weather. You can't affect how that's going to. It's just another learning lesson, and there's always going to be another race. And that's ended up what I did. I ended up turning around in 8 weeks and ran Houston
Jeez.
because I was really like, I need to get my BQ for the next Boston. That was like I need to do it. And I'm glad I did because I ended up getting a 3:17 at Houston. So
Yeah.
I had a great race.
Houston's a great
Almost,
race, by the way.
oh, I love Houston. Houston's one of my other favorites too. It
We'll talk
logistically,
about that in a little
yeah.
while.
So ended up getting the 3:17, but luckily I did because when Boston gets canceled, they push obviously to the fall. It gets
October.
canceled again.
Yeah.
And then they open it back up for the next year. And when the buffer went to 7.5 minutes, I wouldn't have made it with the time I had from Chicago.
Oh, from the 326.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was really lucky that I was like, you know what, I really do want to get another crack because I knew I was in better shape than what New York had showed me. So I was like, I got to give it another crack. And I'm glad I did because I wouldn't have made Boston. I wouldn't have made Boston for the fall of 2021.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good thing you did do Houston.
I know. Crazy.
We were there. Actually, I think I had COVID. I was supposed to run the half. My wife was running the full then. I was so sick that I did get up to watch her come in, that Houston. And then I just went back to bed. I was like, all right, good job. And I looked for her, found her. And then I was like, that's when we didn't know we
Right.
knew COVID was, but we didn't know.
No. Yeah, we had no
I thought I
idea.
had the flu or something. I don't know. I don't know what I had, but it was COVID-like symptoms because I have
This
had
was
COVID.
before the announcements that were
That's
coming
right.
out, like it's COVID. Like no
So
one had
yeah,
any
we were
clue.
there. We were there for that one. It looked fun. I just wish I could have run it. I was so disappointed. So that's good. And wait a year to do any other run besides virtual running, which sucked.
It was terrible.
Were you running with Pegasus then, or what was kind of the?
So what ended up happening was Pegasus got created right before New York City for me for
Okay.
2019. Fonz and I talked because I had always believed his training was amazing. I still to this day 100% support him and believe in him and believe in the method to his madness. And so in 2019, I was like, we need to create a brand around your coaching at the time. And so it was one of those, like, right before New York, we actually had the name, the logo, the old logo now. And it was something that we were working on it together. Now, going into COVID years, Pegasus was very new. It was like we still were having organized small group runs. This is when people were still afraid to meet together, even in a parking lot distance. There was probably a good core group of 10 to 15 of us that met up every single Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and none of us got COVID during any of that time.
You're
None of
outside
us.
too, so it's
That
not.
too.
I think that was they didn't know at first.
Right.
Then it was like you can meet outside. It's fine. All right. So Pegasus started, and
Mhm.
you got to run with the group, so that was
Yes.
good during COVID. And
Yeah.
what was so then? Was it New York you did or Boston?
No,
What was the
it was the next race I didn't go, it was until Boston of 2021 in the fall.
okay
Was so it was a long
the
time coming.
fall?
I had qualified in 18 in
Yeah,
October, and I waited 3 years
you
to
didn't do
race.
any kind of marathon since then,
I did
or
the virtual Boston because it counted towards my streak, but at the end of the day, I don't really count it because
did you race it virtually?
not really.
Okay,
No,
it's
no.
hard. All right, so I want to hear about the Boston, your first Boston Marathon, really technically.
Apparently I didn't learn from New York because I had more cramping. Went
Oh,
back to Martin, so by then I'm like,
well, that was
okay,
3 years. You
I
forgot
know.
how to race.
Still, Boston was amazing though. Even with as hard of a day as it was, and it was weird because remember it was the rolling start year where we all got on a bus and then we just walked to the start line and we all just started whenever we pleased. It was
I heard about
just
that. Yeah,
it was strange. So it was
that was the one in October. Is that?
yes.
Yeah, I didn't go. Like my wife went, but I didn't go.
Hmm.
It's probably because I didn't want to deal with the COVID thing.
Yeah, it was
But
weird. It was
yeah,
really weird.
it made sense for me to not go for sure. Okay. All right. So you ran the Boston October,
Hmm.
weird. And how'd you do? What'd you think? Yeah, it was awesome. But
I did literally like a 3:32, I
okay.
believe, if my
But you
memory
felt the
serves me.
same way as you did at the
New
one in New
York,
York.
yeah. I cramping again. I'm like,
Maybe
okay,
you shouldn't
something's
travel for races.
maybe not. It was something just I figured it out. It was Martin. Martin didn't just for with how I sweat and everything, it just doesn't work for me.
So you
I
sweat a
was like,
lot.
okay.
I've seen some of your quick videos, like you're coming in from a race at the end, and you go pretty fast at the end. I think people like are taping your video, and you're like, I gotta go fast at the end. I don't know. The 2 or 3 that I saw, it was like, dang, she looks like she has a lot left at the end.
I want to finish on empty.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
how
I
I
could
like to do
tell.
it.
All right, so you did Boston. Not so great. It was decent. Boston's hard, anyways. From my wife said, out of the 12, or she'll hit 12 here shortly.
Wow.
But the 12 that she's done, or 11 that she's done, that she might have had 3 really good Bostons, a few decent ones where she has 330s, but she's had 3 or 4 that really just, and so
It's not easy.
it's a hard course.
It's a hard course.
I say bomb. One she did bomb. Her very first one she bombed.
There's more people that have a problem on their first than anything else because you're just like, oh, you're feeling great the first 10 because it's net downhill,
Downhill.
then it
That's right.
flattens out, and then you start climbing, and it's a gauntlet, and people underestimate it every single time as their first, and it's, yep, that hurt. And the videos and the pictures don't do justice how steep those hills are. Not
Yeah,
even close.
yeah. I've heard a lot about it, obviously. All right, what was next?
So I did.
Did you talk to Fonz and say, hey, look, I don't know what's going on, but this is my second race in a row. What's going on? When'd you figure out the salt thing?
Yeah, it was something that like we had talked about because we're like, something's just not, I don't know what it is. And we've narrowed it down to a nutrition issue. And at that time, I was not as well versed with the cramping side because if it's a cold race, you really don't even notice it. You don't notice your lack of things when it comes to nutrition. So at that point, we were like, the only common denominator is 2 hot races. So something you definitely on a hot race cannot just go, I'm just going to show up and take my
Drink
gels
water
and
and take
not
some gels.
exactly. And from there, now it's taking higher sodium level gels, taking Gatorades. And I still never cramp during workouts, but I'll cramp during like races if sometimes. It's
Let's
just
race
strange.
because you're going really fast,
You're holding it for a
and it's
longer
hot.
pace. Yeah, at all
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Okay, so figure that out, I think. We'll see.
Yeah, I figured
Obviously
it out
you
by then.
did.
And then after that was Houston. I went back to Houston in 22. So it was like 3, 4 months later. Actually, before that, I paced my husband to Dallas Marathon at a 4-hour pace. So I went
Okay.
from, did Chicago or Boston in the fall, Dallas Marathon pacing, and then I raced Houston 2022.
I got a question just out of curiosity. Does your husband is he a runner or is he not? Or does he sometimes do it? What's the,
He's done 2 marathons so far now. He's doing Chicago with me this coming fall. So I
is
guess
he going
I'm
to try to
turning
stay
him
with you
into a
or?
no, he's just wants to go out there and have fun. He'll want to get the sub 4 is always his goal. And so we paced him to a sub 4 for his first in Dallas in 21. So it was fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. Does he do other things like besides running or
Gosh, does he do other things?
like what?
That I always make fun that he has so many hobbies that he can only have 3 hobbies in rotation at one time
Yeah.
because he just has too much, whether it's rock climbing, golfing, working on his car, running's thrown in there.
So just do all kinds of things.
He
But
he does
it's good.
too
He's
many
active.
hobbies, but he's very active, which
The,
is
the
great. I
positive is
absolutely love
about
that.
that. Think about this. So both my wife and I run, and she does more of the marathons. I
Hmm.
remember I've done 3 marathons. I've done 50Ks and lots of halves
Hmm.
and things like that. But 10 years ago, maybe 11, I was so upset about whatever marathon I was about to run or whatever. She goes, "You really complain a lot about running these marathons and the training. Why do you keep doing this? You seem to hate
Why
it."
do you do?
I
Yeah,
was like, you know what? She goes, you don't have to do it because you're around these people that are
right.
doing it all the time. And so you feel a little pressure. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do any more marathons. And we've done like 120 miles in 6 days up mountains. We do 25 miles. You know what I mean? We've done awesome, amazing things, long run things. But for me, when I run a marathon, I just want to go all out. And back then I had a 5-year-old, 6-year-old, or whatever, and I just couldn't do it. So I just quit running marathons. I just did halves and I'd do 20
It's a
milers
lot
and
of
things like
work.
that.
There's days I'm like, why am I doing this to myself?
Exactly. And my point about this whole thing was that I think it's good to have a partner that allows you and you allow them to do their thing, but understanding like, you're going to go out there and probably run now 60 miles plus a week. And that takes a lot of time and effort on Saturdays and Sundays and travel to Boston and New York and wherever else you're going to go. So it just does. And so you have to be supportive of each other. You know,
He's
and I think it's
been
important.
incredibly supportive,
Yeah.
and he's always been like, because again, I have weird sleep schedules and I have certain things that I have to do, that he's been nothing but supportive. It's in regards to deciding if we go on trips and all that stuff. He's been nothing but, nope, we're doing this. So I couldn't have asked for anyone better to spend a life with, because he's been my rock.
Yeah. And
I
I
couldn't
think
do it
that's
without him. I really couldn't.
And I think that's important. We won't get too much into relationships, but I remember Warren Buffett says, the most important decision you ever make in your life is your spouse. And not just for money, which money is important, but for everything. And especially if you want to be active and focused and running, I think that makes a big difference. All right, what was next? You run Boston, you
Mhm.
do okay, not great. So let's go into
So
that.
I head back to Houston, which Houston is one of my favorites and still is to this day. Sitting down with like I said, Fonz is always right. And this was exactly the Fonz is always right. Cause at that point I was like, I want to come out of a 310, 305, 310 at Houston.
That's great.
Now becoming more and more terrifying of
Yeah.
how the paces that are like, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, how am I going to do this? So Fonz and I are sitting down at Lily Flying Saucer in Houston, which every time I go out there now, I go and have lunch at Flying Saucer the day before. That's just, now it's a tradition. And Fonz and I were just talking, we talk race plan, we talk about pace, and he goes, you can go sub 3. I'm like, no, I'm not ready for that. No,
Right here. I like it.
I know.
A lot of
So
us do like that. I've
yeah.
said this 1,000 times. Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, so he put it in my head. I start off the race and I'm hitting 7:05 like splits, and I manual lap my watch, so I knew I was like where I was the whole time.
You do that
Yeah.
for every mile? Really? Okay.
So, when you get like a funky mile where the mile marker's over there and your
Yeah.
watch goes off, I don't have that problem. I know
Okay.
exactly what pace I'm going at all times, which is what I don't, it drives me nuts if I don't know.
Love it.
I'm going early by it was mile 19. I always remember this because I hit my watch manual and it goes 1 hour, 59 minutes and change. And I'm like, I have 9 miles left. I have an hour of running. Can I go sub 3? Because at this point, I know what the pace was. I thought at the time, I thought it was like a 6:50 pace, and I'm like averaging like 7 flat. I'm like, okay, all right, are we gonna do this? And I took off, and I was like, if we're
We'll try.
gonna try. And It was just one of those, it was a perfectly beautiful cold day and
Awesome.
ended up being 2:59:44.
Damn.
So at one point I thought I think it was like mile 23 where my runner math is going in your head. And I'm like, I don't think I got it, but I'm going to get as close as I can, and just squeaked in. So it was, yeah, they were probably like 6:15. I could.
No way. Oh my God. Little story, and I want to make sure we get to the end of this because I think yours is so important because we're still not done with you.
I
2 years ago, I was running a half marathon, and look, I get it. It's downhill. It was the one in Utah, the Revel race downhill. I was running faster. Look, I'm not a slow runner at all. I'm not like Jill Wolf fast either. So I was running, and I was running faster than I ever have. So I was hitting 6:15, 6:13, 6:12. I was like over and over. It wasn't just once. I was like, how the hell am I hitting this? I feel pretty good. Might as well just keep going and allowing myself to just do it. No,
Yeah.
my first mile I ran a little slower than usual, but I didn't know. But it was pretty much all downhill until the last three. In the last three, it was pretty straight, but it felt like it was up.
Of course,
So
because your
because
quads are gone. Yeah, exactly.
for 10 miles, man, I'm flying. I've never flown before. Like seriously, it was so awesome. I hit a 128, so I was happy with that.
There you
But
go.
yeah, but it just reminds me of a nice, cool day. And when you're feeling it, you just got to go after it. And you did it. And I love that. And that's, I felt like that before at a race, not quite like that, but pretty good like that. And I think once you hit that, just don't stop. Allow yourself to go.
There are more people who are afraid to take that because they think they're going to blow up their entire race. And at some point, you have to make the decision that I'm just going to go. I can either fall on my face, or it's going to be an epic story that I'm never going to want to forget. And those are the races that will always stick in my mind as like the best experiences. Houston 22. It will always be like, wow.
That was the breakthrough. I feel like, I don't know. So it's crazy because you've had a lot of breakthroughs. You went from running not slow half marathons, like 2 hours and 150s to 340 something to 330s, 26 and whatever, and fairly fast. But then you had some hiccups, which probably you learned from, and that's a good thing. And wow, you went from, what was it, 317 all the way to 259? It took a little while to get, but you've had a few years to get to that. But
they were definitely, those ones were big jumps in regards to it. There was a lot of time between them, but again, it's the unknown of, I didn't even think it was possible and was just beside
when you're
myself.
In your own head, what I tell people is if you don't think you can do it, you probably won't. But you took a chance on yourself, a big chance. This
was so risky.
But I love it.
It could have completely imploded. And
Houston's your race, it seems.
Houston is my race.
You did Houston 2022 under 3. That's pretty impressive. And what else happened?
After that, I went right back to Boston. So I did, I think it was a 3:04. So
nice.
I had my redemption of the really crappy Boston. I was like, and that was within 6 months. I was like, I'm coming back and I'm going to not let this thing beat me up.
I have to give you some confidence, though, I'd assume. Say, I went low 3s again. You went 259. You didn't PR again, but still you did 3:04, so it wasn't a fluke.
Went from 3:30. I did a 4-hour marathon with my husband. I did a 2:59 and then went 3:04 in the span from October to April. I don't recommend doing that, by the way. That was a lot of miles and really exhausting. And I didn't race again that year until Houston the following year because I was like, I need to I like the long builds. I don't really like to race more than 2 times a year. And that was too much. That was way too much on my body.
Well, at least you saw that and were smart about it. All right. So you did that. And then you waited about a half a year to do Houston again. How'd you do that?
Yep. That was a 2:56. So I improved by 3 minutes again. Yeah. So I was like, okay, we're rocking and rolling. This is still love that was a 70 plus degree day. So that was more of a win from the nutrition side. Cause I was like, gosh, here we go. Another hot day. Like this is where the cramping comes in. So I learned my lesson. I didn't have any cramping issues and came away with another PR. Not as big as I wanted. I was on pace for sub 255. Yeah. But I will take a PR any day of the week.
Yeah, it's hot too. So just think if it wasn't,
gosh, it was ridiculous.
You would have killed it.
Yeah.
But we'll find out how you did kill it. So that's 2023.
23. Yeah.
Yeah.
January 2023.
So was your next one Dallas?
No, I did Boston again.
Oh, Boston. Okay. Yep. That makes sense.
So I did Boston again, come away with a 2:54 on a rainy day. So another 2 minutes off the times. 2023 was just a good year. I mean, like
Yeah. So was
and
20.
it was the year I got married. So like just wins all around. Couldn't have had a better year.
Planning's got to be always the challenge and running and all that stuff.
Yeah. Why not plan a wedding, go on a honeymoon, and then try to run another marathon in 6 weeks after? That's a great idea.
I think you said that earlier. So you did Boston, got a PR, which, wow, big props on that one. And then you got married and then did Dallas.
Yes. So that was.
And now tell me about this race because I want to know more.
So
Because you're actually wearing the shirt,
I'm wearing my shirt.
the finisher shirt. So
Yeah.
there's something
So,
special about that one.
Yeah, this one will always be special. And it was something that Fonz and I went back and forth a lot about because we obviously have more time goals that we want me to continue to go strive towards. And Dallas is not an easy course. It's desolate at the lake sometimes when it comes to spectators, but it's my city. I love it. I'm familiar with it. I could run the course any day of the week. So it was something that we went back and forth for a while of should I do it? Should I not do it? Should I do it? Should I not do
Oh,
it?
you weren't sure if you should do it. Got it.
The one positive and the reason we've ended up saying yes is not only because I knew my fitness was there, but it was an Olympic year. And I think Maddie said this in hers, where when she went to Cowtown, everyone was going to the trials. It was a very similar situation for me that the cutoff for the trials was the weekend prior at CIM. And then everyone who was probably at the top of leagues ahead of me is probably racing the trials or had just attempted it.
It's whoever shows up, and you showed up that day, Jill.
So I gave myself the best opportunity. That's where
You did.
It was a perfect day. Weather was literally probably the best weather Dallas marathons had in years because it was cold and but sunny. And even with a new kind of course work through, it was just epic.
Why was it so epic?
Because I could win.
Oh, you did win.
I know, I did win. It's something that it's still people in my group literally just give me. They like to always call. They like the champ, and I'm like, please stop. Like,
you won
it's very sweet,
Dallas Marathon in 2023. What was the time?
61. So,
and you PR'd again.
And I PR'd. Yeah.
Okay.
In my city. So that was what made. I mean, that
is awesome.
At one point, they were like, people weren't sure if I was leading because there was the relay, but I had the lead bike with me, so I knew that I was the leader just based on that. But there was like people who weren't sure, so I was like, we're gonna run my race. That was all I was ever gonna do. Not worry about anyone else but me.
That's awesome. So congratulations on a win. It's rare to be able to win a big marathon. That's fairly big.
Yeah.
And in your Dallas Marathon is now big. Look, Travis won it this year or this last year, and the 220 something like that. And then his first marathon, ridiculous.
Like, ridiculous.
This woman Erin won it for women's. I forgot what she ran.
Megan, she did a 2:46.
That's right.
And then Megan, who was also one of her training partners in the Arkansas group, won it the year before I did.
She did. Okay.
So they
I've
all
never
knew
talked
each
to
other.
her.
Yeah.
Got it. And then Mimi won the half, I think. So this last year.
3 times in a row.
Yeah, that's her third time. She's truly elite, right?
Oh, she's amazing.
All right, we're not done because you have a couple of other things. So what'd you do after that? Because it's 2025 now, right? Yeah. Did you do Boston then?
I went back to Boston 2024.
You didn't go to Houston though this time.
No, because that was way too close.
Yeah.
Couldn't make that work within a month, and that's okay. Like I've still done it.
Houston will be there next year, as we know.
Still be there next year. Yeah. So ended up skipping I love Houston, so it's like I always say it's been my PR course every time I've gone out there. So I truly love it. Went back to Boston, did a 3:01 at Boston. The heat got me again, but not in the sense of cramping, but it was a rough day.
3:01 though. Still.
I know.
I mean, I feel like that's now a consistent thing for you is now you can pretty much get under 3, and probably a 3:01 is probably a little bit not what you're wanting.
No, and I think everyone I spoke with was like, this weather is just, we got roasted in the sun. And honestly, there were some people that, unfortunately, we say making decisions in the race, and sometimes making a decision I'm going to take off, but also making the decision that it's not going to be my day. There's nothing I can do to fix this. I need to pull back because there were people in Boston passing out on Boylston. And I'm like, you get all the way there and you can't fit. No, that's crazy to me. So I made a decision in Boston that I was going to pull back because I did not want to be that person. I needed to finish. And
Why'd you
sometimes
said that, Jill? Because a lot of us will just keep going and then just die. And nobody wants to feel that bad after a marathon. Marathon's hard enough.
it's just a race. I know we spend time,
Yeah,
money, and energy
of
doing this,
course.
but at the end of the day, it is just a race and it's something that we all enjoy. But it's not worth risking our health, our lives for just to, all for sending it, but to the point where you are delusional, passing out on the side of the road, having to have medical come get you. That's where you get like, I get very nervous because you never want to go that far into the pain cave.
No.
That's dangerous.
Look, none of us are Courtney DeWalters here. No, and
Right.
do you know who she is? I assume you
Yes, of
do.
course.
Yeah. There is something said about going into the pain cave and then embracing that pain cave. But
Yes.
sometimes there is the opposite of that. None of us are, for the most part, that's it. We're not elite runners and we're not going to get paid for this. This is what we do for fun.
Yes.
And yes, we can be disappointed about a race, but my
There's
wife's always
always
said,
another one.
there's always, you're right.
There's races all the time. Now they're selling out crazier than they ever have, but
Yeah.
there are always more races.
Just sign up early.
Sign up early. There's all for giving yourself a chance, but don't put yourself in that position. And frankly, you can, if you know it's not going to be your day, that's okay. Still finish and then give yourself more opportunity to recover and come back stronger for that next cycle. Because you can't affect the weather.
100%.
You can have the perfect cycle and the weather could be absolute crap.
Yep.
And
that's one thing you can't control. So let's move forward because we still have some PRs here that I want to talk about. So after you did Boston, did pretty good. 301 is most cases really well, be good. What'd you do next? What was your thinking now?
I did Dallas half just to get a
Oh, you
training in the middle of this training.
That's not obvious. I didn't know that, but you did. Okay.
Yeah, I did. I still do try to run Dallas marathon or half every single year just because. So I've done the half a handful of times, but going into the big PR, I wanted to get another half under my belt to make sure that I was ready.
How'd you do in the half?
I came in 5th.
Okay.
123. So
damn.
Yeah, I was really happy with that.
Yeah, you should be.
Like really happy with that.
Is that your best on a half or?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was my PR, but I think by 13 seconds, but that's okay.
You're a very consistent runner. So 120.
I'd rather be consistent. And then I went back to Houston, basically,
okay.
where it was cold. Feels at the start.
I did the Austin half. It was ridiculous. Windy, cold, same thing in Houston.
Onesie pajamas, like in the corral, because I'm like, it is freezing.
Did you run with the onesie pajamas?
No, I did not. But I was in the corral waiting to start, and I was warm, and everyone else was like shivering. I'm like, this is
smart.
Is a good idea.
Smart.
So it was a cold day, windy as heck. Obviously, it was like myself, Fonz, and two other of our training group, Michael and Eli, who were all queued up together. There was Ramsey, Patrick, other people that we knew that were also jumping in with us, but that was our four of us were really queued up, and we're like, we're going for 250. We got to get safe.
Sub 250.
And that's been sitting on my shoulder since before Dallas. Dallas, I wanted to go to sub 250, but I was very cautious with the hills, and I was more like, I would rather hold. This is where, again, we make decisions. Hold the pace and just
when you won it. You're talking about when you won it that year? Okay, got it.
So hold the pace versus take off.
Well, hold the pace and win it or potentially blow up. I think I'll win it.
And that's
smart
where
move.
Again, it's a little bit, Dallas was the first time I've ever been like, I just want to win versus going for a time.
There's nothing wrong with that. That is actually smart if you win it. Now, if you blow up, then you're screwed.
In case some person came up on my shoulder, I wanted to have enough in the tank to go after her. So that was
possible. I mean, there's plenty of women that's done 250 or under at Dallas.
I was not having any thought that I was like, just keep moving, hold your pace consistently. And that's what it was. So Houston was, I need that 250. It's been sitting on my shoulder since 2023. I need to go get it. So January. Honestly, and I'm sure some of the other girls you've had on here will say it is incredibly hard to go from like the 250s to sub 250. And it's more mental than anything. Same as going sub 3. Once you break that barrier, it's okay, I can do it.
And I say this almost in every episode now because I think the mentality that you're having that's exactly right. So Matt Campbell said, you've probably heard this already, but he said, we have a lot of people that now can do under 240 and they're the 230ers. But what if we can get under 230? If I can get under 230, then everybody else will be under 230. Now we'll have a set of 220ers. He goes, what's his name? Brent Woodall was the only one right now is the unicorn. I know Logan Sherman's done it. But the point is like, there's not that many people that hit under
No.
230. You're right.
Barriers are hard. Barriers are meant to be
Yep.
broken though. So it's
Oh,
something that like you
100%.
just have to keep pushing. And I mean, but it is such a mental, can I get there?
Yeah.
So it was one of those, wanted it so bad and had probably the best training cycle I ever had.
Nice.
We were strong, all of us, we were all working together. But the race threw me through a loop a little bit because it was just like, it was so windy. And even like we were watching the weather going in, that we knew the weather from 9 to 20 was going to be right in our face. And we're like, and it was not, it was like 20-mile-per-hour winds. It was just going to be,
It was rough.
it was just crazy. But what I didn't anticipate is that the wind whipping through the buildings the first 9. So not only were we getting it from 9 to 20, we were getting it early on too. And I'm like, oh gosh, like is this going to happen today?
Yeah.
Is it going to happen today? So we all are, at this point, we've actually created funds and all of that. All of us are clumped together and we've created this like moving pack of all of us going for 250. There's probably like 12 of us, 12 random people just jumping in because they all see us wearing our matching stuff, right? So everyone's like, oh, these people know what they're doing. Yeah.
Pegasus.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a really, it was probably it was super fun to move as a group.
Yeah.
At one point though, I think we were it was 10 or 11. I'm watching the watch and we're going a little hot. Like we're in the low 620s and I'm like, I'm feeling it more than I probably should by now. We're about to go into the heavy wind section. Like but unfortunately, like we're in a big pack, right? You don't want to lose the pack, but it was just like, the pack helps, but it was one of those, if I stay in here, I don't know if it's happening. So I ended up turning to one of my friends, Patrick, who was also at this point, we're falling onto the backside of this pack here. And I turned to him and I'm going to slow down. Again, we're slowing down 3-4 seconds a mile, not much, but enough we're going to create a gap between that pack and we're going to drop. It's going to get fall. I'm going with you. I'm like, okay, like I was like, we were going way too fast for what we were supposed to be doing. And it was early. And so we fell off and you just see them slowly drifting away into the abyss. And I'm like, question your choice. Again, back to making choices in the marathon. Did I make the right call? Did I make the right call for me? So now we've gone from a pack of 12, 15 to a pack of 3 of us. One other gentleman ended up falling off with us.
Okay.
And we're just still clocking. At this point, we're doing 630s, which is pretty much spot on what we need to do. We're going straight into the wind. We have no reprieve because it's just 3 of us now.
Yeah. You don't have the pack anymore.
No. And I'm questioning everything. We take a turn where the wind is going sideways now. And all of a sudden, the pace just seems effortless. And I'm like, okay, just it's that mental game, right? I'm just like, hang on to the pace. Don't drop the pace yet. You are almost out of you've got 3 more miles to get out of this section and you're going to be home free going straight towards Houston, like downtown Houston. So at that point, I mentally rechecked myself. We were all just hold the pace. We take that turn at 20. No, it's actually 18. Sorry, 18. That's at the top of the course. And the wind is gone. The wind's not affecting us pretty much at all. So at this point, I'm like, now we got to go. We got to go catch them.
You got to catch them. Okay.
So at this point, Patrick and I both were just do you see the person ahead of you? Just catch that person, clocking ahead. Yeah. And so we start dropping into the 16s and we were moving.
Wow.
And it was, again, trying to negative split this thing and try to catch them. And ended up catching Fonz and them with 100 meters to
He's
spare.
Such a slow
Not
poke.
Even. He's weaving back and forth. Come on, let's go.
Let's go, guys.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like,
I've done this a few times.
Yeah, exactly. This is my just normal day out in the office. So I'm like full out sprint, just trying to catch up.
Come on.
And he's just, let's go. I'm like, it's almost in my head. I'm like, I hate you so much right now. And I'm like, I got nothing left. All of us crossed at 2:48 and change. So we were really happy.
And that's this year. That's back, just a few months ago. All right. Wow. That was awesome. And now you have Boston coming up again. What's the plan there?
I'm going to go in and just figure it out.
Okay.
I don't really have a goal in mind. The weather is looking in the 50s, which clearly I don't really like warm weather. My Ohio girl in me wants, I want 30s. I want 30s and cold.
Okay. Well,
I want to go out and just have a good race. I want to have a good, strong race, whether that means I'm sub 250, 255, sub 3. I want to go out, have fun.
I like how you said that. It could be under 250.
I know. That's unfortunately, I know I've probably, yeah.
I feel like that's doable for you. And the reason I think that is because you hit a 301 in Boston once. And that's when, you're hitting the 250s,
Mhm.
250, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so I think that for you, it's doable.
Yeah, it would be nice. And I don't, at this point, I want to refocus to Chicago in the fall. So that turnaround from Houston to Boston is not the easiest. 3 months is not ideal for me. You don't really gain much fitness. You're gaining back up to the mileage and then you're having to taper again immediately. So you just feel like you're slogging the entire time when it comes to the training. Like nothing feels effortless. Nothing feels like I'm killing this workout.
Yeah.
I'm
Do you
here to
think,
check it off a list at this point.
yeah, you'll have a great Boston and hopefully I'll
I hope
see you
so.
there and see some
Yeah.
friends there. But I think that what's next for you is you're thinking time? Is it, hey, I just want to try to hit under 250 again? Is there anything there that you're thinking, or is, oh, let's just hold off? Are you scared to say, or what?
Terrified to say.
Okay.
It's like I said, you don't take off the whole elephant in one bite. And I'm just at this point, it's one race at a time. I would love to go sub 245 at Chicago. That's where my brain's at right now. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But I can only
You're
just
still really young, so you still have that. Just
not
so you
not that young, but it's one of those
pretty young. I don't
is starting
disagree.
to
As you
catch
get
up with
older,
me. Oh yeah.
but
Well,
right
and
now you're good. You're good. You're still
I
PR
want to start a family
territory.
someday.
Yeah,
It's now we unfortunately
that's
we've
time now for the family. So we're getting there. So I get
exactly.
that.
That's where it turns into we've made decisions to try to let me take a crack at some bigger goals before that happens. We're going to we play it by ear. And if I'm not progressing in the marathon, then that's just where we might just say, okay, that's okay.
I think too, though, is you can learn from Melanie and Maddie
Yeah,
from some of that stuff. They're still fast. They're still doing good
absolutely.
things. That doesn't
No,
just
I
take
will
away
always be
from,
a runner. Whether I'm a
it will
mom or
take away
not, I
from
will always
your,
be a runner.
I'm sure at first, some of
Hmm.
the time that you have because you have a
Hmm.
baby. That's just
Yeah,
how families work. But that's awesome. Look, I'll be following you as we kind of go through Boston, or as you go to Boston. I'm going, but I'm watching and throughout your kind of journey, and we'll have you back on if you want. But this has been
absolutely.
really good, Jill. As a matter of
Thank you.
fact, we went like an hour and 20 minutes. Crazy.
Sorry, I could get talking because, like I said, I said at the beginning, I'm just someone who just continues to show up and keep trying harder. It's never
I
been.
can
I
tell.
don't think I'm at my limit yet, and I want to keep just getting better. And it's taken 7, 8 years to get there, but it's not some. People are like, "Oh, I could never do what you do." I'm like,
With
"You
that attitude,
can."
that's
It's
true.
yeah, but
I have a
it's
question for you because
yeah,
I meant to ask you this. So earlier you mentioned when you first started doing 40 miles, how does that change? Are you a big believer in high mileage, like 70, 80 miles or whatever a week, or what
yep.
does that look like now? Quickly.
I like the high mileage.
Okay.
I like to sit above 80, 90. I hit 100 going into peak week for me here. So it's something that there's also like this mental side to it where you mentally just know I just did a 100-mile week. I can hold this pace a little bit longer. My body can hold on. So there's a mental piece to it that not just the strength that's added from all that, but the mental side of it for sure.
I think that something you were telling me was so intriguing during this Houston race that you did was I made myself slow down 3 or 4 seconds a
Mhm.
mile or whatever it was, but then I sped up mile 21, whatever it was. You can actually do that. And I think, and it feels like some of that reason is because all the miles that you put in your body, you're very
Mhm.
strategic in how you think about the race throughout
Mhm.
the entire race. I mean,
Mhm.
you can push it hard, you can slow it down,
Mhm.
know exactly what to do. And I'm not saying obviously you've had struggles at some races, but
Right.
this is where now it's a tactical kind of focus.
Yep.
You know your body, you know what you can do, and confidence is key, but you have that already.
Yeah.
And it's just an interesting eye opener for me, what you just said. I mean, you're meticulous now. You
Thank you.
can be.
I actually say this more about people who are trying to get to Boston because people are so set on that time goal. And it's something that they refuse to run within themselves because they are so focused on what the goal time is. And I say this to all my friends, you can always make up time in the marathon. It is a long race. Don't go out like crazy. Stay calm because when you start to panic, that's when things can go really bad. But it's one of those things. I love the marathon because you can make those decisions and catch up. You can also, but if you latch on to have to do this time and stop running within yourself, you actually, most times than not, you blow up and you actually are farther away from your goal than you were if you just ran within yourself and did what you knew you needed to do. to be able to throw down the gauntlet with 6 miles to go. 'Cause that's when it's fun. That's
Yeah.
my favorite thing in the race, like when you can just start flying. That's my favorite part.
And you've learned how to do that. And I think that's really cool. I've done it a couple times, and
It's
that's
hard.
whenever you start passing people and you start feeling good, but you have to be smart during that race. And wow, congratulations on
Thank you.
an amazing running career over the last several years. And your journey is just incredible. And I'm glad that you came on to tell it. You've got a lot of great wisdom for everyone out there that is trying to hit goals and things like that. Just know that it takes time and
It
effort.
takes a lot of time.
Just become smarter over time.
Just keep showing up. Just
keep showing up.
Keep showing up. It will get there. You just can't give up on it.
Thanks everyone for tuning in to another DFW Running Talk. I'm Chris Detzel. Don't forget to rate and review us. And hey, we're now on Substack. So make sure you follow us, DFW.com at Substack, and sign up for the email newsletter. Jill, thank you so much.
Thank you.